It's been going on since the early 50s, and some say even longer. Men in black show up to intimidate UFO eyewitnesses and UFO investigators. They often have beyond human knowledge and capabilities, yet they appear artificial, robotic, and clumsy. But they're not monolithic. Let's explore. Hi everyone, and welcome to Project Bluebook, where we explore all things unidentified. I am Thor, and thanks for tuning in. There's so much to discuss when it comes to Men in Black. We're going to make this a pair of episodes, back to back. This episode will focus on their history, basic concepts, and identifying patterns. In the next episode, we will cover the most famous cases, examining the rare footage and photographs that exist of the real Men in Black. In the future, we'll definitely revisit and elaborate, because this is not a time-isolated phenomena. It continues to this day. First, they are really bizarre. Most often traveling in pairs, they look cut out of an early 1950s spy movie, in black suit with impeccable black shoes, white shirt, black tie, and very often wearing a long coat on top of all the suit, regardless of whether it's in Florida in the middle of summer or a winter in Colorado. Same clothes. The pairs are nearly identical to one another, more than twins, like clones, but not all the time. They can be either completely normal and human appearing in behavior, or they are so completely strange and unfamiliar they look to be robots from another planet. Let me explain. The men in black in this category have pale white skin like paper. It's absolutely wrinkle-free. They show no emotion at all, and their speech is monotone, almost robotic. They sometimes have a slither of a mouth and red lips that look painted on a plasticky surface. On one occasion, a man in black wipes his lips with the back of his gray suede glove, and it leaves a red streak mark, lipstick, making the experience realize this man in black had no lips, none at all. He looked like a Ken doll, and in the words of the eyewitness, when he talked, his lips didn't move. He reminded me of a ventriloquist doll, end quote. This category of men in black always wears a fedora, and most often sunglasses. It disguises most of their facial features, their hair, eyes, and forehead, helping them in blending in, except the clothes are always a dead giveaway. And I have a theory about it, and I'll share it later on. To remedy their often artificial physique, they mostly appear at night, in darkness, not always, but often, and still wearing sunglasses. And if they come to your house, they show up on your doorstep, or they are even inside your house when you come home. Or, when you're home, they simply walk into your living room, appearing through the walls. And when they leave, they walk down the street, around a corner, and disappear in a quick flash of light. They're gone. Equally bizarre, sometimes they drive away in an early 1950s black Cadillac or a Buick. Once they were seen in a modified version of a Cadillac model that doesn't even exist and never did. Their license plates are never registered to anyone, even if their numbers exist at the DMV database. They're just unallocated. They drive away from your house, disappear around the corner, and they're gone. There is another category of strange encounters that includes police pullovers with deadly results for the cops in question, stories of irrational driving through residential neighborhoods by beings that don't look human at all, and they don't seem to know how to drive. Those encounters are not men in black, but momentary glimpses of a non-human intelligence acting like a human, blending in a most dangerous of ways in traffic, behind the wheel of an automobile with very limited driving skills. A topic for another episode. The purpose of the Men in Black is intimidation. They target UFO researchers that may have hit a main artery of information, or eyewitnesses who saw something they shouldn't have. They show up, and tell the researcher and eyewitness to stop talking, or else bad things will happen. They tell them as convincingly as they can that what they saw does not exist, that they in fact imagined what they saw. Well, the counter logic to this would be to simply ask, well, if I didn't see it and it doesn't exist, why are you here? Another strange feature of them is their knowledge of the experiencer's life, up to the minute. They may throw back at you something you just read or ate or you just witnessed, or people you just spent time with minutes before or earlier in the same day. The detail can frighten the life out of anyone, especially when coupled with threats leveled at you, your loved ones, and even your children. Their job is to stop information gathering, studying, and information sharing. And this ticks and ties to the 50s as well, and I'll get to that soon. There is another kind that looks just plain human. They walk, talk, breathe, and otherwise behave like humans. They're what you imagine FBI agents to look like in the 50s, even if it is in the 80s or 90s. There are, however, stories of intimidations that involved guys in jeans, normal looking, meeting you at a coffee shop, as with the Penturk incident. Others appeared in military uniform, like the 2 Royal Australian Army officers that visited the house of an elementary school teacher in Western Australia, threatening him to stop talking or else. The most bizarre encounters include long-term surveillance of people's houses. This includes a picture, perhaps the most famous and likely real capture of a man in black, which we will discuss on the next episode. Another incident describes Robert Richardson from Ohio, who in 1967 crashed into a UFO that had landed on a country road. He later revisited the scene with the police and found a piece of metal that he handed over to the Aerial Phenomena Research Institution for analysis. When 2 men in black visited him, they said, "If you want your wife to stay pretty, as she is, you better get that metal back to us." End quote. One of my favorite stories involves Dr. Herbert Hopkins of Maine, who in 1976 was deep into research of a UFO incident and had just received critical information validating the event's reality when he received a phone call. In 1976, people had house phones, not cell phones. Still, within seconds of hanging up, a man in black showed up on Dr. Hopkins' doorsteps. He invited himself in and sits down, speaking words with equal spacing, completely without intonation or emotion, like reading words from a dictionary, with no attempt to constructing sentences or engaging in a dialogue. He was there to deliver a message. That was it. After stating to Dr. Hopkins, "Stop your research or else," he stood up and said it was time for him to leave, in a speech that Dr. Hopkins described as winding down. The man in black's last words confirmed this notion when he said, "My energy is running low, must go now, goodbye." End quote. Slowing down steadily and delivered completely monotone. It was like he was a robot running out of battery. He slowly exited the house, held on to the guardrail as he carefully pedaled down the few steps to the sidewalk, and then he walked to the corner, 1 foot in front of another, where he disappeared in a flash of light. Dr. Hopkins was left with a cacophony of emotions, including dread, bewilderment, and terror. The 1950s uniform phenomena is, in my view, not a coincidence. In 1954, Eisenhower allegedly met aliens and signed a contract exchanging technology for human biological research and specimen sampling. The Robertson panel was commissioned the same year that the Project Bluebook concluded in 1953. The U.S. Air Force conducted a press conference in 1952 explaining the UFO phenomena as real, or at least a certain percentage of it, by accounts of, quote, credible observers describing relatively incredible things, end quote. The Majestic 12 had been operating since 1947, secretly studying the UFO phenomena, and Project Grudge, before Project Bluebook, was already operational, dating at least to the Roswell crash in 1947. And on Saturday, January the 17th, 1953, the Robertson panel concluded, recommending a campaign of debunking UFOs by all intelligence agencies and the military to quash public and media interest in the phenomena. To quote the Robertson panel report, we suggest that these aims may be achieved by an integrated program between the security agencies designed to reassure the public of the total lack of evidence of inimical forces behind the phenomenon, to train personnel to recognize and reject false indications quickly and effectively, and to strengthen regular channels at the same time for the evaluation of and prompt reaction to the true indications of hostile measures. End quote. In other words, debunk, recognize the indications, and quickly and effectively quote-unquote reject them, while simultaneously continue to study and evaluate the phenomena. In so many words, there you have it. It's in writing. The year was 1953, when security agencies went to work on debunking and discouraging, including the CIA and the National Security Agency, at a time when the Cold War became increasingly dangerous and included espionage behind enemy lines, counter-espionage, double agents, disappearances, and secret interrogations. Would tactics of intimidations and threats be off the table based on the Robertson recommendations? I doubt it. It was already in the toolbox. What about the robotic, otherworldly men in black then? Well, collaboration was already underway as early as 1954 with the alleged deal Eisenhower made. Can we imagine a meeting in 1954, let's say, between humans and non-human intelligences discussing most effective ways to suppress the information leaks? The conversation quickly moved from strategy objectives to tactics of intimidation. Let's imagine that non-humans offering their instantaneous surveillance technology enabling immediate reaction to eyewitness accounts, or against breakthrough research using mind reading and other highly advanced observation, spying technologies. Meanwhile, the humans would have offered and taught their counterparts how to appear, behave, dress, and how to drive a 1953 Cadillac. The year was 1954, and the timing fits and ticks exactly to the fashion, style, and automobile technology of that time, and what has been observed ever since regarding the Men in Black phenomena. Can we then imagine a division of duties where the men in black of the human agencies went out to selective cases and perhaps didn't require instant intelligence technologies like telepathy and mind reading, whereas the non-human agents took on all other cases? Are we granting too much credit for organization and meaningful collaboration? As is the case with motives and purpose when it comes to unexplained phenomena, we just don't know. To me, the most bizarre aspect of the whole Men in Black phenomena is that despite their advanced technologies as time went by, they just kept using the same wardrobe, the character look, and the same cars, without attention to which period it actually was and how it would fit, which I guess makes them, in a kind of curious sort of way, human? You can watch and listen to this and other podcasts on Project Bluebook, where we explore all things unidentified. Each day, let's practice compassion and kindness, and please subscribe. I am Thor, and thanks for listening. See you next time.